Well, hello, everybody. My name is Vitaliy Belonozhko, and this is...
Also Vitaliy, but not Belonozhko. Vitaliy G.
So what do you do here, Vitaliy?
R&D.
R&D.
Yes.
So product development.
Product development, and I manage a team of some bright young guys, so it's always fun.
That's awesome. And for those of you that don't know, I founded 64 Audio, or as before it used to be called 1964 Ears, back in 2010. So my official title is CEO and CTO of 64 Audio. And I gotta say, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. I remember talking to the guys probably a year or two ago, if not more, that I really want to get the two Vitaliys on Q&A because, as Vitaliy said, he's the product developer, and a lot of what you guys have experienced or have listened to in the past, I don't know how many years, 5 years? Maybe?
Since 2016, probably.
Yeah. Anyways, Vitaliy had a lot to do with it. So it's a pleasure for me to do this, to finally kind of make my my dream reality, to do a Q&A for you guys from the two Vitalys that, you know, in terms of product development and stuff like that, are probably the guys you want to talk to. I just wanted to, for those who are just tuning in, quickly just recap what Volür is. Volür is a 10-driver hybrid that has this true isobaric technology in it. And while the true isobaric isn't new to the world, but I do believe that it's new in terms of how we implemented it in an IEM, and that's why we call it the true isobaric. And so we're gonna get into the questions here, and one of the questions that was asked is, what does Volür mean? What does the name mean? You know, it's always, I guess, an interesting question. How do you name a product, right? Yeah. And we went back and forth. We knew that this product was so special that it required, you know, a really good name. I would say I personally wanted to have a unique name. And so when the guys came up with this name of Volür, me being from the Soviet Union, I remember there was this material that was called velour, and it was something that the rich people would have. It's a really soft and kind of velvety type of material. They would make like expensive drapes out of them and hats and things like that. But that material is spelled Velour, and so to me they're pronounced the same, but obviously we have a unique spelling that sets it apart. But to me, it just kind of reminded, when I heard that name, it just kind of fit with the product, that it's a very velvety and a very pleasant and very musical sound that your ear doesn't get tired of. So, you know, again, just the way we spell it, it is original, but it does, for me personally, have that root in this really nice feeling fabric. So hopefully that answers that question. And the next question that was submitted is, what inspired Volür? And as you guys know, or some of you may know, that in 2020 we released this product called the Neo. And we got a lot of good feedback on that. It's still selling. It's still a very liked product. But one of our distributors kind of challenged us and said something like, "Well, can you guys top the Neo? Kind of like, can you do something better with it?" And honestly, that's what kind of I would say kickstarted this quest of, how do we make the Neo better? And we even internally kind of had these discussions. Should it be based on the Neo? Should it be something completely different? But I think that was the inspiration, is how do you take something that's good and that already ticks a lot of the boxes, and how do you even make it better? And so Vitaliy will talk a little bit about what that journey looked like. And I would ask you the next question, Vitaliy, that kind of along the lines of this subject, that how long was the research and development phase of Volür? How long have you been working on it since inception?
Well, if we're going to look at the full timeline of what it took to get Volür onto the market, it's been a while. But that includes, production, logistics, materials, all the stuff that needs to be figured out. The actual research and development portion of the project was, I would want to say, the meat of all that work was probably about 4 months of just going back and forth, trying different things. I think we went through at least 3 or 4 different iterations that used dual drivers. The drivers were different, they were configured differently, but all of them didn't live up to what we were looking for. And so it took a while to kind of get to the point where we saw potential. And after that, it took maybe about a month or so to finalize the tuning and dial in the minute details that we were trying to achieve.
Yep. I remember you bringing me some of the first iterations, and I think we were both after listening, we were both looking at each other going like, this is kind of going backwards.
Yeah.
This isn't going in the direction where we want. And that's where that search for other technologies.
I had a tough time with that because when we built the first prototype of what birthed this, I listened to it first and I was disappointed, and I just felt like terrible. I was just so let down.
All that work for nothing.
Yeah, I was let down, and then I thought, well, maybe I'm just having a bad ear day. Let's see what Vitaliy B thinks. And I didn't want to color your impression, so I said nothing. I was just like, hey, can you check it out? Tell me what you think. And you came back with the same kind of like, I think it's worse than the Neo. So that it can't be the direction that we're going into. We have to be better than the last product. So it took a while, but we did it.
Yep. Well, I'm glad we did. The next question that is on here is, why is true isobaric bass such a big deal? Do we have an hour to explain this?
True isobaric bass is a big deal because it has a lot of really cool advantages over just having 2 drivers firing into the same space. And in the speaker world, it's not as common or popular anymore because driver technology has progressed so much. But earlier 70s, 80s, this was a way to get really good bass in really small boxes. And there are still advantages to this even today. It's just that it's sort of cost prohibitive for a lot of people because instead of buying one nice expensive woofer, you're buying 2, and per speaker or per sub or wherever you're integrating it. So how's it different than all the other methods of integrating 2 drivers? How's it different from what other people claim as isobaric? The difference mainly lies in how the sound is, how the 2 drivers are configured. So normally, if you just have 2 drivers firing into the same space, the 2 drivers are kind of fighting each other. You have one space of air volume, and you have 2 diaphragms pushing air into the same volume. So those 2 diaphragms are going to be fighting each other because as this increases the pressure, this is trying to increase the pressure, and they're increasing the pressure together, but they're also fighting each other. With an isobaric setup, it's kind of a different configuration. And in our visual aid example here, I can kind of show you why is this different. It's because the diaphragm of one driver fires into the back space or the back vent air volume of the second driver. So what that is doing is kind of like one diaphragm is pushing or helping to push the other. So instead of fighting each other, they're actually helping each other. And the benefits of that in the speaker world are, like I said, you can literally half the size of the speaker enclosure and still achieve the same low frequency extension as you would with one driver, but twice the size of the box. It also comes with other benefits. One of them being increased motor strength. And this one's kind of obvious. You have two drivers, you coupled them, now they're one driver. So that means that the motor structure is doubled.
It's like a dual motor Tesla.
Exactly. Yeah. You've got two of the voice coils and you've got two of the magnets. So that means it increases the BL of the speaker. That's the parameter that is describing the motor strength of the driver. What that tends to do is add benefits like better controlled bass or just better controlled driver, which means potentially better decay characteristics and things like that. I think that covers most of that.
Lower distortion.
Lower distortion. And it's kind of hard to tell how much of it is attributed to what, because this isn't just an off-the-shelf driver that we got. We did kind of work on developing this driver and improving it, and it has a lot of benefits because we used a very high-grade magnet, so we have a lot of sensitivity gain just from that.
Very strong magnet.
Yep, and it also had reduced distortion. So between the driver being better and having lower distortion, and between using the Isobaric configuration, we have really lowered the distortion in the bass on the Volür as opposed to the Neo. Yeah.
Well, to sum up everything Vitaliy just said, I think it's quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Because by taking two low-frequency drivers and using them in the traditional way, you're going to get more bass. But the question is what's the quality of that
Actually,
bass?
that's the one thing I forgot to mention. So when you have two drivers firing into the same space, they're both going to contribute to the SPL of the sound. So, and depending on how you wire them, if you're wiring in parallel, you get a 6 dB boost. And then if you're wiring in series, you get only a 3 dB boost. Now, if you actually have an Isobaric configuration, you will not get that 6 dB boost or that 3 dB boost because you don't get those benefits. You do not get a boost in sensitivity because you're just putting the work of that driver towards making a better driver, and it's that energy does not get transferred the same way. So the fact that we increased the sensitivity of the driver beforehand really helped us here because we were able to maintain the sensitivity and not lose anything, but still get the benefits of having a true Isobaric setup.
Kind of the best of both worlds. So the next question pertains to the high section of Volür, and it goes, how does the response of the TIA Waveguide compare to other high-frequency drivers or high-frequency driver trends like the EST driver? That's that, electrostat driver that's kind of been popular in the last few years. So this is, Volür is our first product to use the TIA Waveguide, so I guess it's worth talking about. What exactly does the Waveguide do?
So the Waveguide, it's literally what it sounds like. It guides the waves. So what the benefit of that is, instead of the high frequencies that are coming out of the open TIA driver, instead of them bouncing around and basically ending up wherever they end up, whether that's in the canal of the IEM, in the canal of the ear, or even going back into the IEM, the Waveguide helps direct those high frequencies out. And so less of them are reflected back into the inside of the shell and more of them make it to the ear. Less cancellation effects. So the difference that we found when we did some early testing was that we were able to boost the high frequency output above 10 kilohertz by roughly 14 dB.
That's dramatic.
Yeah, in our shell. So that means we can assume maybe there were some acoustic interactions that were maybe canceling a little bit, and some of that, and a lot of that energy, I think, was just reflected back into the inside of the IEM rather than making it to the ear. And so it made a huge difference in terms of boosting our super tweeter range, or our air, I guess. And it's really quite something. I think it's pretty profound, and I think people will hear that boost. Now, in the final iteration of the Neo, we didn't use all 13 dB. We dialed it into taste. So just so you guys are not worried that we're going to blast you with high frequencies, this was just to show the potential of the technology. As far as comparing to other driver technologies like EST, obviously it's a very different driver. We have played around with ESTs before. We've never built a product using that driver. The problem that I saw with that driver was mainly the sensitivity of the driver was really low, and you'd have to stack a lot of them to get any usable, well, not usable, to get a reasonable output from it, because all our other drivers are up here and the EST is down here. And you either have to pull all these other drivers down and pad them down, or you have to stack all your ESTs until you get them up high. And that takes up a lot of space. The transformer takes up a lot of space. It's just not practical. At least it hasn't been up until now. And I'm not saying we will do anything with an EST or that we won't do anything with an EST. It's just that our TIA driver is so good. What's the point of fixing something that's not broken?
Yeah.
I hope that kind of answers that.
Yep, it does.
Okay, so
I was just going to tack on one little thought. What I love about the Waveguide is that we get so much more high frequency without sticking another driver in there.
Yep.
It makes it it doesn't break the rest of our design. We're still able to do what we need to do, like have apex and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a brilliant invention.
The next question is for you, Vitaliy. Will there be a CIEM variation of the Volür in the near future?
I think the short answer is no, just because of certain factors. And I don't want to get into all of them, at least not for the time being. But there was another question submitted kind of along the lines of, will we see the Isobaric configuration implemented in future products? And that I can say yes to, because we're playing around with designs right now that do use the dual low driver in a true Isobaric configuration, but it's not exactly the Volür design. So no and yes. So I guess that's some good news.
The next one is 64 Audio exploring bone conduction technology? And are you open to it? And what are your feelings on it?
Well, again, this is without kind of giving up too much of what goes on behind the curtain here. Yes, I'm personally very interested in bone conduction technology. I do see that it has applications, although it's harder to do than with just regular drivers, because just by the nature of it. I had this experience where I was playing a little instrument, and it was like a melodica, and just for the fun of it, it's an instrument where you blow into, and for the fun of it, I just kind of bit my teeth onto the instrument, and my whole head got filled with sound, and kind of had this aha moment of bone conduction is very powerful if used correctly. So to make it short, yes, it's something I'm personally very fascinated with, and I do think it's going to make its way into some products down the line. All right. Let's see here. So someone asked, how does the Volür compare to the Sony Z1R?
Well, I don't know how I feel about commenting on a competitor's product. So I'll say this. They're two very different products. The Sony Z1R, I believe, is a 3-driver configuration. So. If I'm wrong, then it has to be 4, but I'm pretty sure it's 3. And it uses a very large, I think, 12 or 13 millimeter woofer for the bass. They're different products. I don't want to comment on how they sound, but I think both are great products. And you guys should listen for yourselves and compare for yourselves.
Yeah, I think it'd be best if someone else did that comparison and then gave all you guys their unbiased opinion, because we're going to be somewhat biased. But good question. I mean, that's the Sony Z1R is a great product, and I think it was pretty popular a few years back. And then we have this question that probably both of us can chime in on, and that is, what made us change the bezel on the faceplate? I was going to make a quick joke and say, like, we just couldn't get a tool to make a round one, but in reality, design trends change. What kind of inspired me to want to do that and be excited about making a change to our classic faceplate shape is that the world is going to more of a kind of an edgier look. You can tell iPhones are getting a little more square and things like that. So I think it's only natural that we observe the designs or the design trends that are out there and evolve with that. Yeah.
I would add to that we are always exploring ways to make our products look stunning and beautiful, and even if it looks like it sometimes on the surface that we're not changing things, we are changing lots of things on the shell side. Minute little things, whether that's changing the depth of the connector socket or just changing the angle of the canal. These kinds of changes are happening all the time. The ID changes are the easiest to see, and they reflect how what we think looks good, and we're going to continue doing that.
I was going to say the short answer is it just looks better.
We think.
Yeah, we think. So hopefully you guys agree. We want to thank you for being a part of this Q&A. Hopefully we've answered your questions. If you have more, you can always hit us up on socials or send an email or call us. Sometimes we pick up calls. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you guys like this kind of thing, let us know, and we'll do more in the future. But unless we have any other questions, which I don't think we do, again, thank you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for being interested in our products, for purchasing them, for letting us know how we're doing. So again, this has been Vitaliy Belonozhko with
Vitaliy G.
And we hope to see you guys later. And so have a great day. God bless you guys. And we'll see you later.